बैठेंगे। हम भी राह देखते हैं उस दिन की जबकि कच्छ और सौराष्ट्र के लोग भी यह कहने के लिए सामने आएंगे कि इस प्रकार से पुलिसी बल पर लोगों को हटाकर हमें पानी नहीं चाहिए। वो पानी नहीं होगा, वो इनका खून होगा, खून जो अगर कच्छ में कभी पहुंचा तो भी उनकी प्यास नहीं बुझा पाएगी। हम उस दिन की राह देख रहे हैं कि जब इस देश के जन आंदोलन के इतिहास में यह बात लिखी जाएगी, इन लोगों ने, आदिवासी किसानों ने अपनी भूमि को त्यागने के समय भी बंदूक हाथ में नहीं ली, संविधान के तहत चले और संविधान के तहत अपनी जान को ही हथियार बनाकर ये लोग लड़े और किसी हथियार की उन्हें जरूरत नहीं पड़ी। इस देश की भूमि पर अगर जनता डटकर लड़ना चाहेगी तो वो लड़ सकती है। जीने बनने का अधिकार दांव पर लगाना अगर वो चाहेगी तो वो तो कोई छीन कर नहीं दे सकता।
Hello and welcome to a very special session of Teri Meri Baatein. Eco Club Teri Saas is privileged to have with us a very renowned Indian social activist. She was the founder of Narmada Bachao Andolan, and you might have guessed her name by now. Yes, you are right. She's none other than Medha Patkar ji. And before moving on any further, please do not forget to check out the latest cover of our upcoming magazine, Vasundhara, at the end of the video. What motivated you so deeply to start a movement like Narmada Bachao Andolan? Did you receive any criticism for going against the development project which might benefit certain people? And how did you manage to maintain that fighting spirit throughout?
The landless laborers, the Dalit widow women, all of them with farmers and others, when they came together in a long process of organization, mobilization and actions, then you can fight with anyone who can stand and challenge you, because it is the people's power that challenge the so-called power holders, and that's what we did.
So, how the conversation about conservation has changed since after Narmada Bachao Andolan, and how these kind of activism can go forward effectively in future?
In the battle against a particular development paradigm which is seen as unsustainable and unjust, then we are questioned as to then what is the alternative? Do you have an alternative? First of all, it is not our domain or our claim that we have all alternatives, but certainly there are alternatives. That there is no alternative, Tina, is a false concept that has come along with the globalization, liberalization paradigm, which is pushing not just India, but the whole world, and especially the younger generation, towards the technocratized and monetized and marketized and commodified communities and societies and economies and polity as well.
We have heard that you help local communities in generating sources of energy, adopting rainwater harvesting practices, and also creating residential day schools in Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, and Gujarat. So, could you share a few of those inspiring stories with us?
People were absolutely in the dark, as if they did not exist and they had no place on the drawing board of the planners. So we decided finally to oppose it. After 6 hours long dialogue in which the central secretary had really taken a position that yes, madam, I accept there is no plan ready. And so we said that then we would oppose this project. And we had 6 places rally simultaneously on the same day. So it was a collective leadership and interstate actions. And obviously the criticism came forward saying you are against development, not till we took that firm decision of questioning the project itself. And that was the truthful stance that any movement would have taken, anyone in our place. And Adivasis and farmers and fish workers, and everyone took that position. So it was necessary really to understand that when this criticism comes up as anti-development to anti-national, and many are also put behind the bars, like the father Sami from Jharkhand, who is today behind the bars only because he took the stance in favor of the Adivasi rights in the Pathalgadi region of Jharkhand, challenging the corporates who were encroaching and impinging upon their rights. So, my dear friends, it's a pleasure and privilege to talk to you about these experiences of ours, and the analysis of these would bring to you and me and everyone that we should not really bother about such criticisms, because those are innocent or ignorant, and hence, like Christ, we should say forgive them. But then we have to deal with them, and we have to deal with them with our spirit, which is coming from the commitment to the poor. But the so-called poor was detained. The decision was made to close the gates and fill the reservoir, making it a watery grave, was absolutely illegal. They could not have done it without rehabilitating the last person and family and community. And thousands attained rehabilitation benefits. Thousands, at least 20,000 in this dam alone across the world. There is no other example that people could gain their right to alternative land or the grant which the Supreme Court increased to 60 lakhs per person. But still there are a few thousand people who are yet to get their plots for building houses, who are yet to get declared. There are hundreds in Maharashtra and thousands in Madhya Pradesh. And now they are saying that yes, that is true and we need to get money. But that money will not bring back the land which is affected, and the sufferings cannot be compensated which people go through when they are displaced without rehabilitation. So this is what gets exposed, but that is too late. And hence we have to really take a position, and we have to really ensure that the people first get space in the planning at the initial stage itself. That would bring out the truth. How far is the flora and fauna important as the forest resources, as the sources of livelihood, and as the protective of the river basin itself, is something that people know themselves better than any environmentalist or ecologist. But they don't get the space. 10 years the Narmada Tribunal heard, but whom? The tribunal, the former justices, members, experts did not visit one single house of any affected person. This is what happens in the development project planning process. It is absolutely undemocratic, it is unjust and unjustified. And hence you have to first assert and get the right to participate. Then you have to get the right to question the costs and benefits. And that can happen only if the people can bring out the truth, and then they can make the authorities face their questions, and then the experts realize that yes, they had missed many aspects which they take up later. So it is also necessary for the people to be the monitoring forces, and that can come up only if they get organized and remain not as an NGO only, but as a people's move. And then whatever benefits come through, the affected people must have the first right to the benefits. If irrigation comes in, the displaced people must get the part and parcel of the irrigated land. This was there in Sardar Sarovar project, but that never happened because some of the officials and the politicians sabotaged the whole process of bringing out the law and policy towards that end. So we had to really fight the battle to get alternative forest land, to get alternative agricultural land, and we still have not rehabilitated all the people affected by Damodar Valley. Meanwhile, the United States of America declared a moratorium on large dams, stopped building large dams, and now by today it has demolished, that is decommissioned, more than 1,000 dams and made the rivers flow freely. But our Ganges, our Narmada, our Krishna, our Periyar is not flowing freely. And hence we are following the wrong path.
Like you said, people don't know the ground reality, they don't understand that development needs to be done, keeping in mind the social and environmental factors. So what do you think, in your opinion, was the ground impact of Sardar Sarovar Dam project or even other development projects, and how do you think the government and other developers ensure that the benefits outweigh the harms?
I don't think the whole world has changed with only one people's movement, but certainly it has its own impact. Everywhere, wherever now the displacement comes in, or even deprivation, if not displacement, whether it is of the urban poor localities where the people really strive whole of their life for a small little house of their own. And we have Ghar Bachao, Ghar Banao Andolan towards that. And also the Narmada Bachao, and we are now a national alliance of people's movements which, with the slogan Desh Bachao, Desh Banao. Now we have to not only protect ourselves from Corona, but we have to protect ourselves from the climate change. That is not just man-made, it is human-made, and it is the state-made, calamity. And hence, when we realize, we have to really look out for alternatives. And I see it that the youngsters can really bring much of it.
So ma'am, I was asking if you have any message to give to TERI students regarding how they can take the movement forward and make their peers aware about the indigenous people of the local community.
Through you as youngsters, my dear friends, go deep into the search and research, and then also study, analyze and dissect the government statistics and data, then only we can say which technology is more beneficial than harmful. Hydropower is also neither clean nor cheap. The real cost, that is environmental cost, social cost, is not taken into consideration, and the benefits are overestimated, and the benefits don't come. I would appeal to you all to reach out to Adivasis, reach out to urban slums, and take your own position and use all that capacities and tools that you have in your hand, and sympathize and empathize and understand the injustice need to be fought non-violently in a satyagrahi way. You can find your own ways, different kinds of satyagraha which Mahatma Ji would have done, Baba Sahib Ambedkar could have done, and that is the constitution demands of you, also guides you on. I think each one of you must feel determined to give 1 year at least after your career to any movement that you choose. I think that will bring you closer to what's down, not just to get you stuck with what's up. It is very necessary. And when you really join them, become a part of their life, even for a short period, go and live in the slums for 4 days and 4 nights. Your life will get changed. And that's what we have visualized and experienced with the youngsters who joined our movement. We need you all because we cannot pay the huge, big salary packages. We are always on honorarium. But that's an honorarium. It's an honorary task and process that the youngsters must take up if they are for sustainable development. It cannot come only through webinars, right? You have to be implementing in more or less manner in your own life, in your community, and also join others who are paving a path towards sustainability.